Thousands of brand new motorcycles sitting abandoned in dealer lots. $2.3 billion in unsold inventory collecting dust. Repossessions up 31% in just 6 months. The motorcycle market isn't just slowing down, it's in complete freefall, and it's happening faster than anyone expected. Walk into any Harley-Davidson dealership today, and you'll see rows and rows of brand new bikes that should have been sold months ago. Dealers are offering record-breaking discounts, $8,000 off MSRP, 0% financing, free accessories, and buyers still aren't showing up. We're watching an entire industry collapse in real time, but here's what most people don't realize. This crash was inevitable. The signs have been building for years, hidden behind inflated sales numbers and easy credit. Now the bill has come due, and it's devastating. This isn't just about motorcycles collecting dust. It's about food security, manufacturing jobs, and whether the American dream of owning the open road is dying forever. What I'm about to show you will explain exactly why this crash happened, which legendary brands won't survive, and what it means for your wallet in the coming months. But the most shocking part isn't the scale of this disaster. It's what's coming next that nobody saw coming. I'm standing outside a Yamaha dealership in Phoenix, Arizona, and what I'm seeing would have been unthinkable just 2 years ago. The lot is packed, not with customers, but with motorcycles. Hundreds of them. Brand new bikes that should have been sold months ago, now sitting in the desert sun with price tags that keep getting slashed deeper and deeper. The sales manager, Mike Rodriguez, has been selling motorcycles for 23 years. He walks me through the lot, pointing to bike after bike. That street triple? Been here 247 days. The MT-09 over there? 312 days. I've got bikes from last year's model that I can't move even with $6,000 off sticker price. This isn't an isolated story. It's happening everywhere. Over 60,000 new motorcycles are sitting unsold on dealer lots across America. Many have been there for over 300 days. To put that in perspective, in a healthy market, bikes typically sell within 45 to 60 days of arriving at the dealership. We're looking at inventory levels that are 500% higher than normal. The numbers are staggering. Motorcycle sales dropped 7.4% year over year in April 2025, but that doesn't tell the full story. Premium brands are seeing double-digit declines. Harley-Davidson reported a 23% drop in retail sales. Indian Motorcycle is down 19%. Even Honda and Yamaha, traditionally recession-resistant, are struggling with 12% and 15% declines respectively. But here's the number that reveals just how bad this really is. Dealer inventory turns. In a healthy market, dealers turn their inventory 6 to 8 times per year. Today, the average is 2.1 turns. Some dealers haven't sold a single bike in their premium categories for over 90 days. Major manufacturers are responding with panic. Harley-Davidson has slashed production by 25% and laid off 800 workers at their York, Pennsylvania facility. Indian Motorcycle shut down their Spirit Lake, Iowa plant for 2 weeks in March, the first unscheduled shutdown in the company's modern history. Even Polaris, Indian's parent company, warned investors that motorcycle segment losses could reach $200 million this year. The desperation is visible everywhere. Zero Motorcycles, once hailed as the Tesla of two-wheelers, has closed 47 dealerships nationwide. Royal Enfield pulled out of 12 states entirely. Smaller brands like Cleveland Cycle Works have virtually disappeared. Their website hasn't been updated in over a year, and former dealers report they can't even get parts for warranty repairs. I spoke with Jennifer Walsh, who owns 3 motorcycle dealerships across Texas. Her voice cracks when she describes the situation. I've got $2.8 million in floor plan financing on bikes I can't sell. The bank is charging me $23,000 a month in interest on inventory that's losing value every day. I'm 61 years old, and I might lose everything I've built over 30 years. The human cost extends beyond dealers. Motorcycle mechanics are being laid off as service departments sit empty. Parts suppliers are cutting staff. Even motorcycle gear retailers are struggling as fewer people buy bikes. Fewer people need gear. But the most heartbreaking part isn't the empty showrooms or the desperate sales pitches. It's walking through those repo auctions I mentioned earlier, watching someone's dream bike, a machine they probably saved for years to buy, sell for half of what they still owe on it. At a repo auction in Denver last week, I watched a 2023 Harley-Davidson Street Glide with only 1,200 miles sell for $18,500. The original owner probably paid close to $35,000 for it. Somewhere in Colorado, someone is still making payments on a bike they'll never see again. Payments on a debt that's now $16,500 underwater. The auctioneer, a weathered man named Frank, who's been doing this for 15 years, told me something that stuck with me. I've seen car repos, truck repos, RV repos, but motorcycle repos are different. These aren't just transportation, they're dreams. And watching dreams get sold to the highest bidder, it never gets easier. This is the scale of destruction we're dealing with. An entire industry built on freedom, adventure, and the American dream is collapsing under the weight of economic reality. Dealers are drowning in inventory they can't move. Manufacturers are cutting production and laying off workers. And riders, the heart and soul of this industry, are walking away in record numbers. But here's what most people don't understand. This crash didn't happen overnight. It's been building for years, fueled by a perfect storm of bad decisions, economic policies, and industry arrogance. The trigger was something most riders never saw coming, and it's about to get much, much worse. Just 3 years ago, you couldn't find a motorcycle on a dealer lot. I walked into a Harley dealership in Milwaukee in 2022, and the salesman laughed when I asked about test riding a Road King. "We've got a 6-month waiting list," he said. Those were the boom years. Pandemic lockdowns had everyone dreaming of escape. Stimulus checks were burning holes in pockets. Interest rates were near zero, and everyone thought the good times would last forever. They were catastrophically wrong. What we're witnessing is the collapse of an industry built on 4 fundamental lies. Now all 4 are being exposed simultaneously. The first lie: motorcycles could become luxury goods. In 2019, I could buy a Harley Road King for $22,000. Today, that same bike costs $31,895. The Street Glide jumped from $26,000 to $33,500. Even starter bikes became expensive, unaffordable. The Harley Nightster now costs $13,500. Tom Bradley, an electrician from Ohio, told me, "I saved for 2 years to upgrade my Sportster. When I finally had enough money, the bike I wanted cost $8,000 more. For $30,000, I could buy a car my whole family can use." The industry convinced itself motorcycles could follow the luxury car playbook. But motorcycles aren't luxury cars. They're recreational vehicles competing with vacations and home improvements. The second lie: easy credit would last forever. In 2019, you could finance a motorcycle at 3 to 4% interest. A $25,000 bike meant $450 monthly payments. Today, that same loan carries 9.5 to 11% rates, creating 525 to 575 payments and 6,000 to 8,000 more in total interest. Sarah Martinez from Phoenix bought a 2023 Indian Challenger with 0% promotional financing. "Then my rate jumped to 12.9%, she said. "My payment went from $580 to $720 overnight." 1 in 5 motorcycle loan applications is now rejected, compared to 1 in 10 2 years ago. The third lie: repossessions wouldn't matter. Motorcycle repossessions increased 31% year over year. At a Las Vegas auction, I watched a 2023 Harley Fat Boy with 800 miles sell for $12,500, originally $21,000. This flood of cheap, nearly new bikes is devastating new sales. Why pay $21,000 for a new Fat Boy when you can get a 1-year-old model for $12,500? David Chen from Seattle bought a 2023 Indian Scout for $14,500, then lost his job. Dealers offered me $8,500 for a bike I still owed $13,200 on. I was trapped. The fourth lie: the economy would stay strong. Motorcycle purchases are discretionary. When uncertainty hits, bikes are the first to go. Real wages have declined, housing costs skyrocketed, and credit card debt is at record highs. Lisa Rodriguez, a Denver nurse, said, "I love my bike, but I can't justify a $480 payment for something I ride on weekends. It breaks my heart, but I had to sell it." The average motorcycle buyer is now 47 years old, up from 45 years ago. When your customer base is aging and shrinking, you have an existential crisis. But there's something even more devastating coming. While the industry was pricing out customers, specific brands were making decisions that would seal their fate. I'm standing in what used to be a thriving MV Agusta dealership in Los Angeles. The showroom that once displayed some of the most beautiful motorcycles ever made is now mostly empty. 3 bikes sit under dust covers, and the sales manager, Tony Ricci, looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. We sold 47 MV Agustas in 2022, he tells me, his voice barely above a whisper. Last year we sold 8. This year, 2. And one of those was to an employee who got it at cost. This is the face of an industry in collapse. Some of today's most recognized motorcycle brands are heading straight for the scrapyard. And I'm not talking about small startups, I'm talking about names you've known your entire life. Companies with decades of heritage, brands that defined motorcycling for generations. MV Agusta, when beauty isn't enough. MV Agusta once represented the pinnacle of Italian motorcycle design. Their bikes were rolling sculptures, machines that made grown men weep with their combination of art and engineering. The Brutale, the F4, the Dragster. These weren't just motorcycles, they were statements. But in 2024, global sales dipped below 6,000 units, a decline of nearly 40% in just 3 months. In North America, MV Agusta has become virtually invisible. Some dealers report going months without a single inquiry. The problem isn't the bikes, it's the business model. Take the basic Brutal 800. It costs nearly $20,000, more than some full-dress touring bikes from BMW. For that money, you get stunning Italian design and a reputation for electrical gremlins that would make a 1970s British bike blush. I spoke with Marcus Thompson, who bought a 2022 Brutale 800RR. The bike is gorgeous, he said, when it runs. I've had it in the shop 6 times in 18 months. Sensor failures, fuel injection issues, electrical problems. The last time, I waited 4 months for a simple ECU part. 4 months for a $20,000 motorcycle. When KTM ended its partnership with MV Agusta in 2024, it pulled the plug on vital dealer support in the EU and US. Without affordable models or reliable after-sales service, MV Agusta is stuck in no man's land. Too expensive for enthusiasts, too unreliable for daily riders. Zero Motorcycles, the electric dream dies. In the early 2010s, Zero Motorcycles was positioned as the Tesla of 2 wheels, a futuristic alternative to gas-powered motorcycles with silent speed, no emissions, and cutting-edge tech. Motorcyclists and tech enthusiasts alike imagined a future where gas stations were obsolete and range anxiety would fade with innovation. That future never came. Despite being one of the oldest electric motorcycle companies still operating, Zero has failed to scale. Global sales have flatlined at around 8,000 units per year. In their home market of the United States, demand is actually shrinking. Dealerships report fewer test rides, less foot traffic, and longtime owners trading in their Zeros for internal combustion bikes. The problem starts with the value proposition. A top-of-the-line Zero SRF costs nearly $20,000. For that money, you get around 100 to 120 miles of real-world range and no Level 3 DC fast charging. That's less range than most entry-level electric cars, which come with 4 wheels, a roof, and better charging infrastructure. But the real killer is the competition. Legacy brands that were once slow to act are now racing ahead. BMW's CE04 electric scooter is redefining urban mobility. Honda has announced a fleet of electric commuter bikes with swappable batteries. Even Harley-Davidson's Livewire division, despite its own struggles, has generated more buzz than Zero's latest models. I met with former Zero owner Jennifer Walsh at a coffee shop in Portland. I loved the idea of electric motorcycles, she said. But after 3 years, my Zero's battery degraded to about 70% capacity. The resale value was terrible. I got $8,000 for a bike I paid $18,000 for. I bought a used Yamaha MT-07 for $6,000, and it's more fun, more reliable, and I can ride it anywhere. Zero's attempt to enter police and fleet markets has fizzled. Their push for a more affordable commuter bike hasn't translated into strong sales. The company sits in a dangerous middle zone, Too expensive for entry-level buyers, too underwhelming for serious enthusiasts, and too small to compete with better-funded global brands. Norton, when heritage becomes a burden. Norton motorcycles should be a success story. Founded in 1898, the brand built its reputation through racing dominance and iconic machines like the Commando. The name still carries nostalgic weight, evoking cafe racers and Isle of Man TT glory. Instead, Norton has become a textbook case of how heritage alone isn't enough to survive. After a financial meltdown and fraud scandal, Norton was rescued in 2020 by TVS Motors, one of India's largest motorcycle manufacturers. The acquisition sparked hope. TVS had money, infrastructure, and global ambitions. Maybe Norton would finally make its long-awaited comeback. That comeback has been a disaster. In 2024, Norton sold fewer than 1,500 units worldwide. That's not just bad. It's existentially bad for a company aiming to compete globally. For comparison, Triumph sells over 80,000 bikes per year. Even smaller boutique brands post higher numbers. The reasons are painfully clear. Take their flagship V4 SV Superbike. At $45,000, it's priced to compete with Ducati's Panigale 5 4R and BMW's M1000RR. But when it finally launched after multiple delays, early reviews cited electrical faults, overheating, and engine oil leaks. Unforgivable sins at that price point. It's a boutique bike trying to play in a hyper-competitive, precision-engineered arena, explains motorcycle journalist Kevin Cameron. When a collector-grade superbike shows up with mechanical problems, it erodes trust faster than a leaking crankcase. Norton's lineup has a gaping hole where affordable, reliable motorcycles should be. While competitors like Triumph built empires around accessible models like the Street Triple and Tiger 900, Norton is stuck pitching ultra-premium machines to an increasingly niche market. Behind the scenes, there are whispers that TVS is growing weary. They have the cash to keep Norton alive, but why keep funding a money pit when they're seeing better returns from other investments? The surprising casualties. The brand casualties extend far beyond the obvious suspects. Benelli, despite being backed by Chinese manufacturing giant Tianjiang, saw sales collapse by 34% across Europe in 2024 and virtually disappeared from North America. Their affordable Italian-designed, Chinese-built motorcycles couldn't overcome quality concerns and sparse dealer support. Ural Motorcycles, the quirky Russian sidecar manufacturer, produced fewer than 1,000 units in 2024, a historic low. The war in Ukraine devastated their supply chain, but even before the conflict, their air-cooled 750cc Boxer engines with 1970s technology were becoming impossible to justify in a modern market. Cleveland Cycle Works, once considered a bold American startup bringing affordable, small-displacement bikes to the U.S. market, has all but disappeared. They sold fewer than 500 motorcycles in 2024. Their website hasn't been meaningfully updated in over a year, and former dealers report they can't even get parts for warranty repairs. Even the giants are bleeding, but perhaps most shocking is what's happening to the industry giants. Harley-Davidson, the most iconic American motorcycle brand, watched $14 billion in market capitalization evaporate in a single week when the full scope of the crisis became clear. Their stock fell 27%, the worst performance in the company's 185-year history. Indian Motorcycle, Harley's main American rival, has slashed production and closed dealerships. Polaris, Indian's parent company, warned investors that motorcycle segment losses could reach $200 million this year. Even European brands with strong global presence are struggling. Ducati sales in North America dropped 18% year over year. BMW Motorrad, traditionally recession-resistant due to their premium positioning, reported their first quarterly loss in over a decade. The financial damage extends beyond sales figures. These companies built their business models on high-margin meat Tom from Arizona. Last year, he bought a brand-new Indian Scout for $15,000, financing $12,000 at 6%. Today, that bike is worth $9,000, and he still owes $11,500. I feel like an idiot, Tom tells me. I'm paying $280 a month for a bike that's worth $2,500 less than what I owe. I can't afford to take a $2,500 loss just to get out of the payments. Millions of motorcycle owners are underwater on their loans, trapped between continuing payments on depreciating assets or taking massive losses to escape. The psychological impact is devastating. These aren't just vehicles, they're dreams made tangible. At a motorcycle auction in Phoenix, I watched a 2023 Yamaha MT-09 with only 800 miles sell for $6,200. The original owner probably paid $11,500. Somewhere in Arizona, someone is still making payments on a bike they'll never see again. The ripple effects extend throughout the industry. Service departments sit empty. Parts suppliers are laying off workers. Even motorcycle gear retailers are struggling, as fewer bikes means fewer riders buying accessories. We're not at the bottom yet. We're caught in a vicious cycle. More repossessions flood the market with cheap used bikes. Lower used prices make new bikes impossible to sell. Fewer sales force dealers to close, and fewer dealers drive values even lower. Industry analysts predict another 15,000 repossessions in the next 3 months. By end of 2025, 30% of independent dealers may close permanently. Major brand bankruptcies are expected in 2026. The survivors will be Honda, Yamaha, and BMW, companies with diversified revenue and strong balance sheets. The casualties will be boutique brands like MV Agusta, electric startups like Zero, and over-leveraged dealers. If you own a motorcycle, your bike is losing value every month. If you can sell now and take the loss, do it. Values will drop another 20 to 30% over the next year. If you're underwater on your loan, keep paying and hope for recovery in 3 to 5 years. Negotiate a settlement or walk away. None are good options. For potential buyers, wait 6 months for better prices. Focus on used bikes from reputable brands. Pay cash if possible. For investors, avoid motorcycle stocks. Watch for distressed asset opportunities. This isn't just about motorcycles. It's a preview of what happens when easy credit disappears and debt-fueled industries face reality. The motorcycle industry that emerges from this crash will look nothing like the one that went into it.